And this is Coach Lauren Jackson, your relationship coach. And I'm so excited to be back with y'all. I missed y'all. Like, I can't get too many days. I feel like my days be off.
Yo, I feel that moving quick, and you forget what day of the week it is and how quick it come back around.
Facts.
It's been a minute though. I think it's been about what, 2 weeks?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
this and sadly enough, guys, we're coming to a close.
I know. This is our last episode of Real Talk, Real Growth. It's been an amazing journey. We've had some really powerful conversations. So, as we're transitioning into more opportunities and more things, man, we really appreciate just every last one of you who's tuned in and supported us, man.
Oh,
Yes.
100%. Any final words, Coach?
Man, this has been such a great collaboration and alignment. And although we won't be going live Tuesday nights every week, these two my brothers, I still can text them and message them. So it's
That ain't
definitely still plan on doing more things together. So I'm excited about what's next. It's like bittersweet.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're gonna make sure we have a powerful episode day to end it off with something real good that's gonna plant some seeds for you guys. Kind of fits that we're talking about seeds because the conversation and title for today's episode is we need fruit and not perfection. So you need them seeds in that fruit. So we're gonna talk about what that means. So Rex, Lauren, what do you guys feel when you hear we need fruit, not perfection? What does that even mean to you guys before we kickstart this conversation?
Coach, go ahead. Crack us up.
Funny enough, I was trying to find like I literally was studying this today because I'm teaching a class on kingdom marriages at my church. And
Mhm.
so I was literally in studies today around perfection and that versus us having fruit. And so perfection or us operating in the spirit of perfectionism is more so about us really operating in our space of insecurity because when we want everything perfect, that means we're trying to mask something else, right? We're trying to hide something else. We're trying to make something look like what it ain't looking like. And so, because of that, a lot of times what we'll end up doing is not allowing people the freedom to be who they need to be. And then also will derail the lessons that we may need to learn from that season. And so, um yeah, that perfectionism thing, it makes me, when people are like they want to be so perfect, it makes me want to lean in and be like, okay, so show me what's not good.
Yeah,
Show me what's not good.
that makes
That's
sense.
and another way I can word that is just like saying, uh, I need effort, not a performance.
Hmm.
Right. I need effort. I need constant, consistent effort. I don't need you to perform. I don't need you to wear this mask and feel as if or look for my external validation every single time you do something. I want you to become the best version of yourself. I want you to operate in your most authentic version. I want you to operate and be transparent and be vulnerable so that we can produce the most fruit. Because if you just focus on performing, what happens when you got to press time out? What
Yeah.
happens when you need to take a break? Right. That's when things start messing up. So I think that's the importance of this conversation. And I think it's a great way to end the real talk, just real growth topics, because at the end of the day, in order for us to have fruitful relationships, fruitful business relationships, or just fruitful anything, we need fruit and not perfection. So without further ado, guys.
Let's jump into it, man. Rex, you got the questions?
Yeah, so I got a couple questions for us. We're going to jump into it right here.
Cool.
Question number one, what does it mean to show up in a relationship? And how can we ensure our presence translates into meaningful engagement? So once again, what does it mean to show up in a relationship? And how can we ensure our presence translates into meaningful engagement? Who
Hmm.
wants to start us
That
off?
first part, right? What does it mean to show up? I think at its root, if I were to just kind of put one thing on it, because it means a lot of things, I would say it means to care. It means to actually care, right? Because one thing to be there, it's a whole nother thing to be there and actually care about what you're doing to another person, how your words, actions, thoughts, how they impact another person, how that person impacts you, being cognizant of it in a way. that makes you say, look, I'm not just here, I'm showing up as a version of myself that's trying to improve, right? I'm showing up here because I care so much about you. I realize that I am not where I need to be yet, and there's some things that I need to work on. And so I need to be intentional about the little things that happen in this relationship that may cause you pain or stress or prevent us from being our best selves. In that second part of the question, can you repeat the second part?
How can we ensure our presence translates into meaningful engagement?
Hmm. I think that the key to that is when you're there, you can't be so caught up in what you want, in what makes you feel comfortable, in what solely makes you happy. You have to take a perspective of what is it that my partner needs, right? It's really easy whenever, just this past week, I was fixing some stuff up at my lady's crib, and she ordered like three, four different things. She's like, "Hey, I'm gonna order these. I need you to build them for me. Can you do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, cool. I got you." And I was connecting these sectionals on the couch together, and it was too hard from the angle that I was doing it from, so I had to lean it on its back in order for me to be able to connect them together. But she got mad at me because I didn't take the cushions off, so now
Mhm.
the cushions are on the floor, and she's like, "You need to lift it up like the cushion." I'm like, "It's barely gonna be on the floor for 5 seconds. It doesn't matter, right?" And it led to us not being on the same page and me feeling the type of way because I feel like she's trying to boss me around, and then her feeling the type of way because she feels like I'm not being considerate. And then I had to sit back and really take a step back and thinking like, "Yo, this is her stuff. She cares about this. It's off white couch. Like it's gonna get stains easy. You're not being careful and intentional because it's not your stuff. One and two, Miles, you know who you are as a person. Like you don't care about a lot of those things. You just like getting stuff done. You don't really care if it's super pristine. That's a fault, right? When it comes to a circumstance where you're caring for somebody else's stuff, you can't just do it your way. You have to think about how the other person wants it done and what would make them happy. And I had to own that and really say, you know what, that's my fault. I should have been more intentional because that's your stuff and you don't want it dirty. So I think it's little things like that, realizing that it's not just my way that matters. I have to think about how what I do impacts you too.
That's good. What about you, Coach? What you got?
Why all the topics? I mean, like every time I get up here, it feels like my own personal therapy session
The
publicly with the world.
stuff you already been talking about.
I'm like, Lord, who gave me these doggone titles? Um, that I was never capable of. But so for me, I'm living it right now.
Mm,
So, when you tell people that you love them,
mm-hmm,
you have to still love them even when things aren't going the way you want.
mm.
That is so ghetto. And I don't want people to think that it's not.
It sucks, right?
Respectfully, it's so ghetto. But you have to do it. And the reason you have to do it, especially if you are Christ-like, right? Or even if you say you don't really know if you were Jesus or not, but you told him you loved him, sis. Listen,
Hmm.
a man will judge how you love him by how you respect him when you're not happy with him.
That's good.
Absolutely.
His decision on how safe you are for him is predicated on the response you give him when you have to correct him.
Yeah.
And also, the other big cheat code for men is not only when you have to correct him, but when you have to acknowledge that you're wrong.
Mm. Ooh.
Even when you feel that you could be able to validate all the reasons you're right, you still have to be able to know how to say, hey, you know what? I was wrong. And I recently had to do that. When I say recent, I mean like 6 hours ago
Mm,
today. And I had to say, like, um, I needed to apologize about the presentation that I gave, like the way I replied, the way I felt about the situation. Was I allowed to feel human and feel hurt and feel disappointed? Yeah, I was. And so for the ladies who like, I mean, I got feelings too. I know you do, but your feelings should not control the way you show up. They should not alter your character. They shouldn't alter the way you show up. And when you tell people that you love them, love telling someone I love you should not be your form of manipulation to get back what you secretly still need. Love is what you give people from your overflow where you don't need them to perform for you. That's when you really love them. And it also looks like being able to sacrifice and be able to say, like, even if I'm not the best person for the job, I love you and I want to see you do great with or without me. And I don't think enough people talk about what that looks like,
Mhm.
and how much courage it takes. But it takes a ton of courage to do that, especially when you like it perfect.
Well, that's
That's
good, Coach.
that is really good, and I'll follow up with that. And so, just people are jumping on and see this. It says, "What does it mean to show up in a relationship, and how can we ensure our presence translates into meaningful engagement?" There's a saying that says, "Be where your feet are planted."
Hmm.
Right. So showing up for your relationship means I'm being present. It means that I'm focused on the person that's in front of me, not the person that I want them to be. Right. Not the person that social media says we should be. I'm focused on the person that's in front of me. I'm learning them. I'm learning how they operate. I'm learning how they are when they're upset. I'm learning how they are when things are going great. I'm doing my best to share my heart with them so they can share their heart with me. I am being present and I'm being where my feet are planted, right? And how does that lead to meaningful engagement? Is because it's me and you, right? It's me and you. I don't have no distractions. I'm not worried about social media. I'm not worried about what my mom and them saying. I'm not worried about my brother and them saying. I'm focused on what are you feeling? How can I make you feel better? What are you needing? How can I feel a need? And I'm focused on sharing my needs and my wants and my boundaries so we can show up for each other in the most meaningful way. So I think for me, that's what sums it up. Like being where your feet are planted, that's the best way of showing up for your relationship.
That's
Mm.
good. That's really good. I want to point back to something Coach said, and Rex, just be ready because I'm gonna use it on the podcast.
Lord help us all.
Oh my God. The two biggest moments for a man to feel safe is the way you correct him and the way you apologize and admit you're wrong.
Yeah.
I think you just dropped some really helpful material,
On
like
accident.
on accident, like that right there. Because when you think about it as a man, and Rex, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you can point almost any frustration that you have back to with your woman, back to those circumstances. Like how you spoke to me when I did something you didn't like, and when you did something that you were wrong in, how did you take accountability? And when you think about it, when men's main pain points are always either you make me feel like crap or you're not accountable. Those are the two main things that you hear men say. That's some good stuff right there, Coach. I just wanted to take the time to give you your kudos on that and let you know I'm gonna give you your credits whenever I use it.
Feel free.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So let's jump into question number two. In what ways can the pursuit of perfection create barriers in our relationships rather than fostering connection? So, once again, in what ways can the pursuit of perfection create barriers in our relationships rather than fostering connection?
Oh,
So
go ahead,
I'll
Coach.
take the top on that. So it distorts emotional honesty.
Mm,
So anytime we are not emotionally honest about our feelings, perfection, that fear of trying to stay in control, it distorts it. And so a lot of times what we don't do is when we're upset, especially when we're upset, we don't take the time to go back and self-reflect to validate, why am I really upset? Like, am I upset because he was right? Because listen, the women, yeah, women drop some pride. Don't be out here and try to lie tonight. Emotional honesty, you're safe here. We don't like when y'all right. Even when like we're the ones who like peeled back the layer to figure it out. A lot of times women are so intuitive. We already know, but we don't always have the courage to say what we know. And so, anytime there's a lack of emotional honesty where we're not honest about what we're feeling because we're trying to self protect, we're trying to um, be the right person, we're trying to be right, not wrong. all of that, it hurts the way that we can connect. So you can't deeply connect when someone's not honest.
That's
So
good.
the biggest lie that we say as women, I'm good.
Mm,
And we hit you with that K, that okay, K.
yeah.
Or we're very passive aggressive. We are. And it's because we're trying to like not show our tail because our ego don't want you to know you got to us that bad.
Yeah.
That ego don't even want you to know that we really cared about your crazy tail. That doggone bad. And now you controlling us like a remote. And the other side, we want you to cater to us, but it takes courage to tell you that we're hungry and we still
Mm,
need you and we still value you. And quite honestly, we still love you. We just don't like you right now.
Yeah.
that's some real stuff. That's some real stuff, Coach. And Rex, the question was, repeat the question real quick for people who are joining.
In what ways can the pursuit of perfection create barriers in our relationships rather than fostering connection?
Man, I think in anything in life, and this is with relationships too, when you're trying to pursue perfection, there's two main things that happen. The first thing that happens is you look at failure as final rather than as an opportunity, right? You sit here and when you make a mistake in the relationship or things aren't going right or you're going through a rough patch, whether it's on your end, their end, whatever, now you think that, oh, we're just so screwed up. We can't get it right, or I can't get it right, or she can't get it right. And that doesn't allow any opportunity for growth, right? You want this picture perfect relationship. You want something that you see people have over 30 years, and it's just not realistic for you to be there right now. It's a part of your growing journey. And that goes into my second point, which is the second thing that happens when you pursue perfection is you have the wrong expectations about what a relationship really is, right? Relationships are two imperfect people coming together. What do you think happens when two imperfect people come together? There's going to be even more imperfections, if anything, because now every single thing that is about you that only sometimes gets called out is going to be a problem at all times because this other person has to see that. So that goes both ways. You have your flaws, but when you're by yourself, you don't recognize all your flaws. It takes you being self-aware, but when you have a reflection, because that's what your partner is, they're a reflection of you. When you have somebody mirroring you, everything you don't like about them is really an indictment on yourself. And a lot of us don't want to admit that we have these problems. A lot of us don't have the proper expectations on what a relationship is supposed to be. And we think that maybe because we come from a healthy household or because we've done some self work or because, we're a little bit more emotionally attuned that we got all the answers. And that just isn't true. So yeah, when you're pursuing perfection, it gets in the way of you guys being able to grow and it sets the wrong expectations about what a relationship really is.
Man, you just said a mouthful. Both y'all said a mouthful. And the only thing I want to add to that is so I'm going to repeat the question. In what ways can the pursuit of perfection create barriers? Anytime you're striving for perfection, you're reaching for something that's unattainable.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing that you will do will be enough.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing you will ever do will be enough. You will never be the perfect communicator. You will never be the most emotionally intelligent. You may never be the perfect lover every single time y'all make love. You may never have the best outfit on. You may never do your makeup perfect. It's just not possible. The Bible says the only perfect thing that's perfect is God.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't live that life, right? We are natural born sinners. So it's impossible for us to be perfect. So anytime I'm striving for perfection, I'm setting myself up. And I'm also, if I'm expecting my partner to be perfect, I am putting them in a position to where they will never be able to make me happy. They'll never be able to please me. They will never be able to do enough. They'll never be able to be enough. And
Mm-hmm.
when you have that mentality, you have that belief about yourself or about your partner, they will feel it,
Yep.
that constant disappointment. Just like imagine being a kid all over again, right? The only thing you want to do as a little boy is to make your daddy happy, right?
Mm.
But the minute you mess up, he criticizes you. He come
Yeah.
at you harsh, and the only thing, that disappointment that you feel crushes you. So that's what happens. That's the barrier. I'm putting up these expectations that I'll never be able to get, and I'll never be enough.
Y'all hear echo?
Yeah.
I think it might be you, Lauren. I don't know. I don't know what that was. Rex,
It sound like an Alexa or something.
Oh, you definitely heard me. It was definitely me. You know, my Alexa runs my house.
Okay, makes sense.
Okay. No, it's different. Okay, bet. So let's pause there for a second. Do we have any comments?
I don't see any. Do you see some?
Let me look on my end. I just see our Instagram family on my page is saying, hey, they're here. Our YouTube people are saying, hey. I did see some comments on, I do have some on the Let's Talk Like Men page.
Gotcha.
So let's roll up here. Hey, y'all, and y'all tag and share this live with somebody because you know they need it. Probably your partner. So that way you ain't got to tell them. We'll tell them for you.
We'll do it for you. I know people be doing that. Like, look, I'm gonna have her watch this and let her see
that part because that's who needs to see it today.
Uh-huh.
KRX Taxo, I think it is. She said, "LOL, I don't mind him being right. I think the disconnect is when they're emotionally misunderstanding."
That's good.
Ooh, that's good.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second.
Let's talk about it.
Miles, what you got for that?
Man, I can attest she's right about that. Now I think too there are definitely people, to Lauren's point, that struggle with being wrong. But to her point, and this is something I'll take accountability for in my own relationship, there are times where I'm trying to tell you what your emotions are. Now, you did this because of this reason. You feel a type of way. You're this, you're that. And a lot of times it's not that. And oftentimes where that comes from is your past trauma, right? You're projecting what has been done to you. And I've always brought up the example of pettiness. There's, so many different things, but like for me, pettiness being a really big thing that caused me trauma in the past. And so I'm trying to project that you're being petty on me because I'm trying to catch you before you do it to me. Right. I'm trying to tell you that that's what you're on and I peep you. So you better stop it. But in reality, that's not where you're coming from. And it would frustrate her. I remember early in our relationship, it would frustrate her so much to the point that she would cry. And then I'm telling her, what you crying for? You crying because you're trying to get out of the situation? You think that's going to save you? Why? Because I've seen people weaponize their tears to try and play victim when they knew they were guilty of things. So that's trauma. When you've seen people do things, you're out here projecting and trying to tell another person what their feelings are. And she's like, I'm not crying because I'm trying to get out of this. I'm crying because I keep telling you what my intentions are. And you're telling me it's something different. You don't think I'm telling the truth. And it's frustrating. And when I had to really get to a point to where I said, look, it is not your job to tell somebody else what their emotions are. And when you learn effective communication, the fear is, well, if I don't try and figure out what her emotions are, then how am I going to get to the next, the next phase for us to be able to resolve this? Right intentions, but you have the wrong steps that you're going about it. Right. It's not for you to tell them. It's for you to ask. One thing that Rex says all the time is become like, I can't remember the exact words he used, but he's like, become like dangerously curious about your partner.
Radically curious.
Radically curious, right? Ask the questions. Be like, hey, it sounds like you're a little frustrated. Am I wrong on that? Like, correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm hearing you say is this, and it makes you feel this way. Yep. Am I wrong? And ask for clarification before you go about telling somebody what they're feeling. I think there's nothing more frustrating to women, because I don't have it happen to me often. I've mostly pictured it with me doing it to my women. So it's like, I think women probably experience that a little bit more because men trying to be problem solvers, we're trying to tell you what it is versus actually being patient enough to listen and wait and understand and believe that what you're saying is what it is, even if it's not clicking for our logic.
That's good. What about you, Coach?
Ask me the question one more time because Miles took me out.
No. The question was the comment.
I thought you said something from there. No, you was right on it. I was over here feeling entirely too seen for the night. Like I'm just sitting there like, is this what is my business? But I do agree that we do have a tendency to do that, and the reason is because being the victim is just so much easier than finding a solution.
Yeah.
And we make it about ourselves. And it's like, no, you chose to do that. Like how you thought that was gonna make me feel better? You
Yeah.
for me. One thing that woman can't stand, I can tell you the one thing my biggest pet peeve is playing in my face.
Hmm.
I cannot stand for you to play on my intelligence and my intuitiveness. And because I'm so strategic. I watch everything and I'm so calculative because to me, if I can't measure it, I can't manage it. So I can almost be
I can't measure it. I can't manage
I can't measure it. I can't manage it. You
it.
said we spend time. Look at the calendar. We really did. I mean, this is the time you spent. And when we were together, you had your phone up. You did this. Like, oh, I have it documented. Like, I can become that person. And so, like, I don't like for you to try to play on my top. Like, what I'm seeing ain't what I'm seeing, or what I'm feeling ain't what I'm feeling, because it's like, nah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
So feel, measure, report. Feel, measure, report. I'm always test my hypothesis every time, and then I'm gonna bring it to you and be like, "No, your pattern was off on these dates."
Yeah.
And this is what I recognized, and I'm curious about what are you seeing and like what are you feeling. But then also too, like I've had to be able to come back and take introspective, and I read this today in my study time in the Bible, that whenever we are trying to get to a place of resolution or even understanding, the first thing you need to do is look at what did you bring to the conversation. Like whether this person was dead wrong or not, you still brought something. So,
Yeah.
what did you bring? And if you're not willing to own what you brought, whether it was the way you presented the conversation, the way you reacted, and whatever it was, if you're not able to hold space for what you brought, then we can't move forward.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
That is really good. And another thing I wanted to add to that is this: a man dealing with a woman's emotions. A man that has never really tapped into his own emotions will always struggle with dealing with somebody else's emotions.
That's a fact.
Right. And I tell this story all the time, and I told it again yesterday. When my very first counseling session, the lady cried, and I found myself wanting to laugh. It was very hard for me not to laugh, and I said to my supervisor after the fact, "I don't think that I can deal with criers." And she said, "Rex, you are a trauma therapist. He's either get used to it or you might need to find another field."
Mm-hmm.
And so when I did some more self-discovery, I realized the reason I couldn't connect with her emotions or her feelings at that time, and I couldn't hold space for her because I've never held space for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I've never held space for myself. I never identified what I was feeling, why I was feeling it, how I was feeling. I never identified those triggers. So if I can identify that in me, because I've always been so solution focused and try to run away from the feelings versus sitting in the feelings, and I would never be able to connect with my woman in the way that makes the most sense. So that's why we will go look for a solution. We will say, well, if you're crying, then how can we get you to stop crying? If your friend said this, why don't you cut your friend off? If alcohol makes you feel emotional, how about you just stop drinking alcohol?
Mm-hmm.
We want to go ahead and cut everything off and find a solution versus sitting in that emotion with them. But sitting in something that I'm unfamiliar with doesn't feel comfortable for me.
Yep.
So that's where things kind of go left. But I can't speak for women, but I can definitely speak for men. We're so solution focused because we don't like to sit in the same feeling that our partners have.
Yo. We just want to get out of things, man.
Yeah.
But that's because we were taught from such an early age that a man got to move on. A man can't sit here and wallow in his feelings. A man can't be crying. A man don't this, a man don't that, because nobody cares. Right? And so our thing is for our woman, it's like we're trying to toughen them up. You know what I'm saying? Like we oh Lord. Oh Lord. I feel like I'm in an empty chair. Oh my God. Oh my God.
You can tell that boy been in counseling talking about some empty chair.
What? It's like we trying to make our woman protected from the things that we got attacked and were vulnerable to when we were younger. I just want you to be prepared because people don't care out here and this, that, and that. And you giving her this stuff, and it's like, but wait, in you trying to toughen her up, you are not making yourself be a safe place for her emotions. She can't trust you. The same way that whether it was your father, your coach, your mentor, whoever it was when you were younger, and you had a certain sense when you were a kid, a little boy, and you needed somebody to care about how you felt, and they just told you to toughen up, that same fear that you felt then is what you're putting on her. But see, we've been so far removed from it, and we've shut it off, and we've treated that as weakness. We've treated that as, oh, I was just a boy. You know, boys think that way. I'm just a kid. I wasn't a man yet. No, you were a human. You were experiencing a natural emotion. And the problem is you've been taught to avoid and run from emotions and run towards solution, when a lot of times the solution is the emotion.
Yep.
The solution itself is to sit in that emotion, to actually be empathetic with that woman, to actually sit there and understand and be quiet and just let her talk, just let her vent. And there's not a solution that you need to give to follow up on it. But since nobody ever did it for you, and because you were taught that how a man got to move is on this type of frequency, and that only soft dudes move another way, that to you is just unacceptable for you to sit there and just let emotions just flow and there ain't no solution behind it. It always is a, well, what's next? Well, sometimes there is no what's next. This is going to be resolved if you just be quiet and let the emotions out.
A whole mouthful.
A whole mouthful. Where's it at in my notes? I was listening to this podcast today actually, and it was it's on what is it called? High functioning depression.
Mm.
And I am like, I've been in love with Dr. Judith Jones since last week. Okay. Like, ever since I found her research on how high functioning depression, I've just been like engulfed in her and like listening to everything she's written. And so recently or I don't know how recent it was, but she was on I think like Mel Gibson's podcast.
Mel Robbins.
Mel Robbins, that's who it is. Mel Robbins podcast. I'll send it in that text. It's so good. But she talks about these 5 V's that you go through, like in order to get to your place of happy, because that's her research is on happiness, like getting to happy. And her first V was validation. You have to acknowledge how you're feeling and then come up with the solution and not neglect what you really feel. And then going into number 2 is venting, expressing how you feel in your creative outlet. That may be in writing, that may be in coloring, that may be in painting, like whatever your vent is. Because sometimes we think venting is such a bad thing, but it's not. It's you getting the emotions out of your body and into the atmosphere where your nervous system is not so overwhelmed by what you're feeling. Yeah. Right. And I think a lot of times we really try to suppress it and then go into thinking in your values, the emotion that like these things, this big problem that you have, was it ever really aligned with your values? Yeah. What are your values? Or did you cross your own boundaries and now you crossed up, now you mad? You didn't follow your own framework, but you mad at him. Since you didn't follow your framework. Like, what are we doing? And then having vitals, having a way to measure the data. And she said this, and I've heard this before, but she said it again today, and it just really resonated that when you're looking at your vitals, you should be reviewing the quality of your relationships. So how often do you audit the quality of your relationships?
Not often.
That's good.
And the quality of your life is dependent on the quality of your relationship. So if you are around people that are going nowhere, doing nothing, if you're a big fish in the small pond, you're never gonna really grow.
Yeah.
Like you are boxing yourself in, and the quality of your relationships, they affect you long term. Yeah. So if you're looking at your life and you're like, well, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. You set these goals, or you've said these goals, because if you ain't said no date, you just put a wish out there. So you done said these goals about them numbers. You done said these goals, but you've put no action. There's no end date, start date. So what are you really doing? And if you're around people who consistently just babble about what they would like to do and they never do it, you will eventually be that same person too. Mm-hmm. And then the last one was vision. Plan. She said this, and I was like, I have never thought about this. She said some people, especially busy moms and entrepreneurs, we're very busy people. She said your vision, you should plan your happiness. So on your calendar, you should have a date and time that you plan to be. I'm gonna just celebrate my wins, because the reason we're ready to just move on to something else is because we don't want to really take in the mindful time that it takes to really reflect on the decisions that we're making.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I'm definitely gonna have to add a schedule for that. Uh, I'm gonna color code that on my calendar. On this day, I'm gonna schedule joy. I'm gonna schedule you. You schedule time to go to the doctor. You schedule time to go get your nails done. Why wouldn't you schedule time to be happy, especially if you ain't happy?
Yeah.
Because the only people that's benefiting on you being unhappy is the bars, and they call it happy hour, and they put it at an hour you ain't happy. Like, they know good and well.
Hey,
You got off at 4:30. They started at 4 to 7 p.m.
you
And
ready to
they
go
closed
home,
the happy
man?
hour and you went. And they give you $1 off for coming. And now you got, liver issues and your diabetes up. But you got sugar around the rim.
No, that's good.
That is really good. Definitely drop that in the chat. Not in the chat. Drop that in our text message thread. Because I want to watch that and I want to pick up on those 5 P's, 5 V's. But let's tap into the next question. So
Let's get it.
what are some practical ways to cultivate an environment where both partners feel safe to be imperfect? Once again, what are some practical ways to cultivate an environment where both partners feel safe to be imperfect?
All right, give me Rex. You want to go first?
Oh yeah, I'll go. I'll go ahead and go first.
Yeah.
You got to create a judgment-free zone,
Mm-hmm.
right? I have to feel safe to mess up. I have to feel safe to bump my head and to learn how to pick myself back up. I have to feel safe to not say the right thing. I have to feel safe to not touch the right spot. I have to feel safe without being criticized. I'm working with a couple currently right now, and with this couple, one of the partners has never had any sexual experiences, and his female partner has. So he finds himself very anxious in any type of intimate situations, almost to the point where he's having like an anxiety attack if he touch her breast or if he touch her stomach or anything that gets close to her private part, because in his mind, I'm not good enough. This is going to be bad. I'm not touching her right. I'm probably being too aggressive. This is going to be a terrible experience. And I had told him, well, one thing, whatever you tell your mind, especially when you jump into your fight or flight state, your blood flows only to the areas where you need to survive. And that's going to take away from the blood flow to your penis. So I just said, one thing that you're going to need from your partner is to know that it's okay for this to be a bad experience. It's okay to try. It's okay to do this and fail. And if I know that I don't have to be perfect, if I know that I don't have to always say the right thing, if I know that my words I don't always have to be proper in the way I talk, or my outfit doesn't have to be the best. If I know these things, then I can show up and be authentic. I can fail and be okay. I can say the wrong things and not be criticized, or my partner won't talk to me harshly, or my partner won't isolate themselves from me because I'm not being perfect. So I think that right there is one of the biggest things. We listen and we don't judge type of situations.
That's good. That's good, Rex. Can I go next, Coach?
Absolutely.
Okay. I
I'm
had to write
glad.
these down real quick. They came in quick, so I had to jot them down.
Yeah, come
3
on.
steps to creating a safe environment in your relationship. The first one is you got to make uncomfortable conversations normal. You cannot run from them. You can't be in the type of relationship where having a difficult conversation is so foreign to you that when it happens, it's like the whole world is crashing down. Then everybody's afraid to mess up, right? Then everybody feels like um we have made some horrible decision here that we can't come back from. It needs to be a normal thing. I'm not saying to always be arguing, but what I am saying is when something is uncomfortable, address it and don't let it linger. The second step is have empathy for a person's struggles. Goes back to what Rex said. Um, for whatever it is that a person is struggling with, it does not matter if it's easy for you. It does not matter if it comes natural to you. It does not matter if you overcame that struggle 5, 10, 15 years ago, and to you that's some little boy or little girl stuff that they dealing with. Doesn't matter. You need to be empathetic because there's something that you're struggling with in your life that you can't get done with in your own life, and you haven't let go in your own life, and you will want them to not put you down for the things that you struggle with. And empathy allows a person to feel like, hey, I got somebody by my side. I'm not alone, which can only make them more effective and better and more productive at trying to overcome whatever struggle it is they're facing. And then the third thing that you need to do is you need to acknowledge growth and courage. I think this is the most important step because when you acknowledge a person, because the last 10 times they've done it wrong, but then out this next 10 times they got two of them right. You've been discussing this. So you went 2 for 10. Acknowledge that 20% growth.
Yep.
Because before they didn't do it at all.
Yep.
And when you don't acknowledge a person when they're trying, even if they're not consistent yet, how do you expect them to feel like they're doing the right thing and that it's worth them continuing to go through something that they're not used to?
Yep.
You have to positively reinforce a person. It doesn't matter what it is. Women, all this conversation about them not praising the bare minimum. Man, look, if your husband, your partner is showing up and they're doing something that they usually wouldn't do for themselves to make you happy, I don't care how small it is. Make sure you say thank you and recognize that person for it. Men, I don't care if your wife done cooked 50 meals for you. It does not matter. That 51st one, you make sure you say thank you and you appreciate the fact that she's doing it. Don't matter if they're supposed to do it or if there ain't. Acknowledge your partner for the little things that they do. And when somebody does something that they're not used to, you need to call it courage. We have to recognize it for what it is. It's not something small. To you, it may be small, but for them, they probably had to think about this. They had some anxiety over it. They've been trying to contemplate in the middle of them doing it. Is this really worth it? Is it safe for me to do this? This goes against everything I was told by my mama, my daddy, my friends, my sister. You got to think about that. This person is being courageous and they're doing it because they love you. So you need to make uncomfortable conversations normal. You need to have empathy for a person's struggles. Don't downplay it. And then you need to acknowledge the growth and courage that a person shows.
That's absolutely amazing, brother. I like all of those. I had a conversation with one of my guys tonight about that. He was just like, my partner doesn't clean up often, but they spend a lot of time at the house. So I work all the time. So when I come home, I expect the house to be tightened up just a little bit, if anything. So he said that, but the other day I came home and the house was fairly decent. So I said, and what did you tell him? What did you tell your partner? He said, nothing. I said, all right, listen, it's going to be important that even if it's not to your standard, you'd say, I appreciate you and you acknowledge the work that they did. And I said, because just like a puppy, we all need praise. If you praise us for something, we're going to continue doing that thing because we're going to acknowledge it and say, oh, man, if that's how they feel if I tighten this up, imagine how they feel if I do something else.
Man.
So I say all that to say you made a really great 3 points, Miles.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
What
you got for us?
Don't let things slide that you will slip on later.
Oof. Slippery slope. Excuse me.
A lot of times I think we tend to do that. We let things slide and then we slip on it later. And when you slip on it, then you bust your behind. You cuss it. You're cussing your way back up to the top. But the truth is, you saw that puddle. You saw what it wasted it.
Yeah.
But instead of coming around and saying, hey, let's clean this up, we didn't. And so now somebody has fallen and they may not be able to get up. Yeah. So that's one. My second one was don't overtalk them.
That's good.
Especially for the women.
And why is that important?
Well, a man's love language is respect. And no one, male or female, likes to be cut off, because when you're talking and you're stating your response and someone cuts you off, it also cuts off your focus. And now you have to catch back up to what you were even talking about, because depending on what they say, it can dominate the conversation. Yep. And now that person walks away feeling unheard, unseen, unvalued.
Yep.
And we do that every time we overtalk or we don't give you time to respond. One thing that I tend to do, if I feel like I'm very passionate about whatever the topic is, I will literally put my phone on mute. I'll be so glad that we got had give me long distance and let's put our phone on mute. Or if I am in person, I will sit like this.
Mm.
And sometimes even on here, you'll see me do this because like about my brain is going fast. And so if I don't have a way to take a note, and then I have to put my hand on my lip like I'm a kid. Whatever works for you works for you. But that lets him know that you value him and you value what he has to say, even if you don't agree. You don't have to agree to still value the other person, right? They should still be able to walk away with their respect intact. Because again, women, a man's love language is not when you tell him you love him. It is how you respect him when you correct him. And last but not least, thank them for their vulnerability and always respond in love.
That's good.
Because you're not entitled to their vulnerability, whether you are married to them or not. You're not entitled to their vulnerability. And if a person does not feel emotionally safe with you, them being emotionally honest will happen very far and few, if ever. And that is how distractions come in and cheating happens. And people start finding other ways to fulfill the gap that's happening. It honestly, a disconnection happens in communication, not the bedroom.
Coach, you did. Ooh, that was good, Coach. Rex, did you have something you wanted to say first?
No, I didn't want to say anything. I just want to acknowledge the fact that um, I, I I appreciate both of y'all's 3 points. And I really do hope that people take the time to listen, not only to listen and to be like, that's a bar, but listen and figure out how they can apply it to their life.
Yes.
Because those 6 things that you guys mentioned can save your relationship. It can take a good relationship and make it great, and it can make a poor relationship. It can turn it good. Trying is still a form of change, 100%.
Absolutely.
I had to drop that.
Conroy.
Yeah, 100%. So that's why it says we just want to see effort. We want fruit, not perfection. And if you can show up, if you can be empathetic, if you can validate, if you can acknowledge, I promise you, your partner will appreciate that. Your partner will feel like they don't have to be perfect. Your partner will feel like you can be agreeable. That's one of the biggest things I tell clients all the time. If you can be agreeable, we can make change happen. But if everything has to go exactly how you want it to go, then you're going to be dealing with a partner that feels like they're on eggshells. If you don't never acknowledge nothing that your partner does, what makes them want to do it? If my lady is wearing something and I acknowledge that I love that color, I bet she gonna find another outfit that got that color in it. You know what I'm saying? If I tell my lady does this thing when she does her own makeup, like matter of fact, I told her, I said, babe, I'm actually love the way you do your makeup more than when you get it done professionally, because you put the right touch on it. I love the little red little stuff you do on your cheeks. I don't know what it's called, but it look good.
Blush.
Blushing every time she gonna throw that stuff in her cheeks. You know what I'm saying? And I love it. So if you acknowledge something, people gonna see more of it. They want more of it because they love the feeling of being acknowledged, and you should love the feeling of acknowledging. And if you don't, then that's a problem in itself.
That's good. You know, it's so funny that, Coach, you said something. What was it? The first line that you said about don't slip. What was it?
Oh yeah, don't let things slide that you'll slip on later.
Boom. You know, I was watching Nightcap with Shannon Sharp and Ocho, and he was telling a story about how he was with the Broncos and they ended up winning a really close game, but the defense played atrocious, right? They gave up like 200 yards rushing, but they ended up pulling out the win, right? And everybody's celebrating, and he sees this coach just upset, and he's like, what's the problem, coach? And he said, I'll never accept anything in a win that I wouldn't in a loss.
Mm.
And I think that that's one of the most powerful statements, because oftentimes, because the majority of things are good in a relationship, or the main things are good, we'll accept things that are problems just because we ended up coming out victorious.
Yep.
And it's like those same things that you don't bring up, those same things that are small right now, they're gonna be. It's like a little snowball rolling down a hill. It's gonna pick up momentum and get bigger and bigger and bigger until it's unstoppable and it's too much to handle, and it's gonna cause a big collision. And so I think that that's something that I even try to live by. Is like, yo, if you see something as a problem, and I encourage, my mom do this all the time. Like, tell me. If it doesn't matter if I don't want to hear it, I'm hearing it. It doesn't matter if I'm frustrated. Tell me, because I'd rather us be able to know what the problem is now than for me to be walking around thinking that everything is good, and deep inside you got some issues that you really want to voice to me, but you're not saying. Don't accept anything in a win that you wouldn't in a loss.
That's the 7th bar.
Bro, like, seriously. Oh, this Conroy said this. He said she probably doesn't do her makeup without thinking of you anymore.
Hey, come on now. I want to listen. That's my thing, brother.
But that's what
Hey, if y'all don't know, Rex thing is I'm gonna be unforgettable.
No, I'm telling you, bro.
I know this man, bro.
I'm telling you. Man, that's good. That's good. And I honestly believe that with everything that we gave tonight, I think this is a healthy spot to end.
Yes.
Not only did we finish with those last 7 points, but throughout the whole call, it's been really great points. So the last thing I want to do is this. As we wrap up, real talk, real growth, is there any final takeaways, final gems, or anything that y'all would like to bless our listeners with?
Yeah. I'll say this. I'm hitting on something specific versus something really broad. How you show up for yourself is how you're going to show up in the relationship.
Yeah.
If you're neglecting yourself in your emotions, you will neglect your partner's emotions. If you are neglecting yourself physically, you will neglect your partner physically. It doesn't matter what it is. You have to cultivate what you want to see in your relationship, what you want to see in your life. You have to cultivate that within yourself first and foremost, because you cannot expect somebody to be something that you are not yourself and that you can't even show them or explain to them how to do.
Yep.
So I think that that's really where I'm at. For the fellas, y'all know, Rex, I'm coming for the fellas every time. So my main thing for the fellas is this: like, you call yourself a leader. Being a leader does not mean you always have the right answers, does not mean you always know the right way to do something. You must know when it's time for you to delegate somebody's expertise, somebody's some responsibility, somebody's the fact that you may not know an answer, so that way you and your partner can get to the solution the best way possible, not just your way. So that's what I'll leave it with.
I mean, that's good. That's good. Listen, I'm only gonna say this.
we got a question too before we go that I need to make sure we answer.
But I'm gonna say this real quick then. Your capacity to show up for others is determined by your ability to show up for yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you don't love you, I promise you can't love her the way she want to be loved, because you don't even have it enough in you. If you don't show for you, it's gonna be hard for you to show for them. If you don't show for yourself, it's gonna be hard to show for your kids. So your capacity to show for others is determined by your ability to show for yourself first. That's what I got. Coach, what you got?
Oh my goodness. All right. I'm with Conroy. Conroy said you cannot love someone unconditionally if you don't love yourself unconditionally.
That's right.
So I would say my parting gem before we go into the question that we got on the floor is that be okay with learning the hard way. Be okay with learning the hard way. Be gentle with yourself. Be okay with feeling your emotions. They are normal. Crying is normal. When my clients cry in session, and keep in mind, I coach majority men. So when men cry in my sessions, oh, because they do.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I don't even know why I'm getting so emotional. I'll be like, because it's normal. My rule is if you're not going to apologize to me for smiling, you don't get to apologize to me for crying. That's my rule.
That's good.
So, for the men, you deserve love. You deserve gentle love that doesn't come at the hit of pain first. And you set the bar for how the relationship is going to flow. And so, if it's not flowing in a way that you feel like is edifying to the relationship, then you've got to be okay with checking your leadership. And ladies, it's gonna be a hard one, but I'm just gonna have to tell you, if you're not going to submit to him, stop letting that man lay in you. If you
Well,
already know, don't be on your back.
if
If you already know, you may not. I'm not gonna submit to you. Then I'm gonna recommend. Don't get on your back. Okay. Let's let the Lord use you.
I love it. I love it.
If he can't lead, he can't lay.
Come on.
Hey, Lady Kate Lay. Come on now, talk to him.
What was that question, Coach?
So the question we had was, "Oh, that's Fallon," and I thought it was a great question. She asked, "Is there a way to support a man through his hesitancies with marriage?" Would love some thoughts on this. Is there a way to support a man through his hesitancies with marriage? I'm gonna let y'all speak to that.
Come on, Rex.
I'm gonna be as simple as possible. Continue to be the woman that God has created you to be. You can't do nothing else to help him with his hesitancy. He has to address his hesitancy. Before I stepped into this phase, mine was, well, I'm not exposed to that many marriages. I've seen too many marriages fail. I've seen a lot of men disrespect their wives. I've seen a lot of men have be in long-term boyfriend-girlfriend relationships and they didn't prioritize marriage. I've seen a lot of men talk about the negative sides of marriage when it comes to you just going to lose your money, you just going to be a pocketbook or all these different negative things. And I had to get past my fear of failure, right? And then also had to choose better.
Yes.
I was always hesitant in my relationships because I didn't think that they were my wife, and I didn't believe that I could marry them for who they currently were versus waiting on them to become the person I wanted them to be. Yes. So as a woman, there's nothing that you can do to help facilitate, to help fast forward, or to help his progression with his hesitancy other than continuing to be the woman that God has created you to be. And if you are in a relationship, and once again, if you're laying down with this man, he is not your husband, take it off the table.
Take it off. That's good. I don't have nothing to add to that other than one simple thing. To Rex's point about like what you putting up with and what you still rewarding, like you got to get to a certain point to where you got to have some self-worth for yourself. And if somebody is making you wait continuously because they're not ready, but you are, and you know who you are, you know God has called you towards this, you got to ask that question, is this person the man that I'm supposed to be with? Right? Ruth was married before she met Boaz. Right? So you just have to think about things like that. God has a plan for you, and while he can be an amazing man and he can grow in that way, I'm not telling you leave him. Like Rex said, like he has to do that development on his own. But if at a certain point in time, it gets to a point where it's coming at your detriment to continue to wait on this man to be ready for his favor, because that's what I need y'all to realize. You have to go, part ways sometimes and go wait for God to give you what is really waiting on you. Because I think he wants a man that's courageous and excited and enthusiastic about wanting to receive his favor with you by his side.
And is ready to choose you.
Yes.
He is ready to choose you. It doesn't take long for a man to know.
Yeah.
He just has to become the person that's ready.
Yes. Rex, what was that comment that we said about forget all the stuff about, I want to live, I want to die for you, I'm willing to die for you. Yeah. He got to be ready to live for you.
Yep.
That means cutting off all the parts of him that are killing him.
Yeah.
His lust, his doubts, his laziness, whatever those areas are. There are some real reasons behind why he doesn't want to pursue marriage or is hesitant. He got to be ready to kill those things. And if he isn't ready to kill those things and hasn't killed them by the time y'all say I do, it's gonna cause problems in that marriage.
Yep. Yep.
Nah, those are facts. I'll give the ladies this, and we do have some other comments in there, so I'll make sure I tap on them. You remember that you are a decision, not a choice. And the moment you become a choice,
Yeah.
don't choose me. Okay, I'm a decision, not a choice.
Yeah,
Decision.
Yeah.
So don't be out here being no choice, ladies. Don't be one, because even the Lord is not a choice. Decision. Said you will not serve no master above me, and I'm stunting like my daddy. Okay, Ray said, Ray Massey TV said, "Oh, that's a good one there. They be trying to pressure a brother into it."
Hey, look, Ray, it's only pressure if you ain't with somebody you want to be with.
Yeah, Fallon said, "LOL, heard these yeses." Look, everybody, people tapping in now. Ray, so here goes Ray Massey. He said, "In order for me to be in love with her, I have to just her, right?" What he's trying to say. In order for me to be in love with her, I guess he's saying I have to
maybe trust
her? Choose her, right?
Just choose right. I don't know.
Maybe that's what he's saying. Ray, drop it real quick and let us know what you're saying.
Yeah, Ray, rewrite that for us to make sure we
definitely want to hear your question.
Yeah, because he said in order for me to be in love with her. Oh, what is that? Lust her. In order for me to be in love with her, I have to lust her, right? Did you try to say lust her? Wait,
I don't think that's
Ray, I hope you ain't trolling.
So
I mean, if you did, it probably ain't gonna win that well. But
yeah.
It is what it is. And Conroy on YouTube said, he said, I became a crier after being a parent and after losing my wife. Guys need to be okay with showing emotions because we're emotional too.
100%.
Fact.
And then he also said, same goes for the women too. If a man decides to choose you, you don't make the changes, he'll end up leaving.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Those are facts.
Absolutely.
So yeah, he said he was serious.
Wait, do us a favor, Ray. Type your question in full. Make sure you send it exactly the way you're trying to say it, because I still don't think we understand what you're trying to ask us. One full thing. Don't put a part. Just put the whole thing for us.
The whole sentence. Before Instagram cut off, we have an hour now. Hurry up. Type your fingers quick.
I don't know how much longer we got.
We don't know how much longer we're going to be holding on, leaning with everlasting arm. I'll say this too. This is something I've been studying around oneness, is that especially for those of you that are desiring marriage and want to be married, understand that oneness does not mean you lose identity. Yeah. Oneness by definition is two people doing different tasks that equal the same goal. Yeah. Two people doing different tasks that lead to the same goal. So the $1 million question is, the man that's leading you, is he leading you to do you guys have the same goal? Mm-hmm. Because if we don't, then we're not going to be able to walk in unity. And Amos 3:3 says, how can two walk together unless they agree? So you have to be able to walk in unity, not uniform. This is not Walmart. This is not school. Everybody wearing navy blue shirts and khaki pants. That is not the definition of oneness. So that means you need to make sure you're an individual first before you try to be a collaborative effort.
That's good.
Okay, so Ray Massey put his whole question together.
He
said, I was saying, in order for me to be in love with her, I have to lust for her with like a question mark.
No. I don't know if that's something that we said that may have got him confused.
Or maybe he came in at a certain point.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think we mentioned anything about lust tonight.
Only thing I said about lust was he has to kill his lust.
Yeah.
But even on that point, if you may have came in and didn't hear all that correctly, because that's the only time we said lust, I'll repeat what I'm saying is this, and I give you this anecdote to talk about the difference between lust and like a heart full of desire, because there's a difference. Like you get into marriage and you're doing things the right way according to God, it's not lust, right? Jesus talks about lust, and he says that even if a man lusts, not physically, but he eyes another woman, if he thinks of another woman, if he seeks and desires those things, then he's lusting and committing adultery with his heart,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
You can even lust after the woman that you want to marry because you're not in marriage with her, right? That is sexual immorality, right? I had a conversation with Rex some time ago when I was talking about my journey with getting rid of lust in my own heart. When you talk about killing lust, I mean it on a level that I don't think most people realize. Like, it's not just the lust for other people. I'll show you how I had to kill my lust for my relationship. Most of y'all understand that me and my girlfriend have taken a journey to say that we're going to abstain from sex until we get married.
Yep.
Right. Keep in mind, that is not how our relationship has been for the last 5 years. We made that choice, I don't even know how many months ago, 4 or 5 months ago. And it's been a very tough journey, but we wanted to get closer with God and do it the right way. And so we've taken that off of the table. But let me tell y'all the flip side of that. Because I don't struggle with my addictions, my past addictions to pornography and masturbation, I've killed those. Because I don't have sex with my partner, because I don't do none of those things. You want to know one of the areas that God challenged me? God said, those photos and those videos that you have of you and your partner and those type of yeah, get rid of them. Get rid of them.
Yep.
Kill it all. Right? Because even that is sexual immorality. I don't care. That's not your wife.
That's your
It's not,
sister, brother.
that's your sister in Christ right now. If you talk about how you gonna still have that in your phone sitting there, oh, because you're not watching porn or because it's my girlfriend, oh yeah. No. Stop asking for them photos. Stop sending them photos. Every way. You got to kill your lust if you're serious about it.
We wouldn't tell you to know we ain't did ourselves.
Telling you,
Oh, baby, listen, and it be rough and ghetto. But
man,
if you would like to go down that road, lust will lead you astray.
every time, every
100%.
time.
So, good question. Thanks for feeling safe to ask. He
Shout
said,
out to
"Oh
you, Ray.
wow, this is even more deeper than I thought." LOL, shaking my head. I'm learning, y'all. I'm so glad that you wrote your
Is that
question, Ray,
Fallon
and that
said
you
that
felt safe.
or Ray said that?
Ray said that.
Shout out to Ray, man.
Shout out to Ray. Thank you for feeling safe and seen to just share in this space because it's definitely a safe space.
Yes,
So
sir.
I think that was all the questions I saw, making sure I ain't miss nobody because they may be looking for us. Yeah, that was about it.
This was great, guys. Thank you guys so much, man. Um, guys, as we said, this is going to be our last Real Talk, Real Growth episode. It's been an amazing journey, guys. We've truly enjoyed it. We hope that you guys have gotten, at least one thing, if not a lot of things, out of, all the information and perspectives that we've given you. I'm going to give my closing, and then, y'all do y'all thing. Um, I'm Miles the Millennial. If you guys are looking for a motivational speaker to come into your company, your business, organization, your school, and really empower the mindsets of the people there to either motivate them, teach them how to lead, or teach them how to perform better, then you can reach out to me at milesthemillennial.com and we can book a consultation and see what we can do for you.
Yeah. It's your boy Rex. How are you doing? The relationship and sex therapist. Come to me. You want to get your mind right. You want to get your relationship right. You want to uncover the root cause of your trauma. You want to figure out what's causing you to stumble, what's causing you to get in your own way. You want to learn how to stop being a self-sabotager and get the love, the love life, the respect, the accountability that you want. All you got to do is go to resolvecc.com. And book a session with me. And if you're not a believer just yet because you haven't seen enough evidence, all you got to do is go to Let's Talk Like Men podcast on all platforms. Check us out for a second. Watch a video or two, see where my head is, see where Miles' head is. And if you then become a believer, click that link and let's work.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I love it. And I'm Coach Lauren Jackson. Make sure that you follow our pages tonight. So you see us live, make sure you follow us. I'm at I am Lauren G. Jackson here on Instagram. It's my personal page. The Oneness Institute is my business. This has just been such a great experience. I work with primarily men who are really trying to learn how to lead and love God's way, and really get you out of those spaces. So listen, if you have struggles communicating with your partner and you feel like every time you say something to her, it go one ear and out the other ear, ain't nothing connected, I'm your cheat code. Your fairy godmother. The
Absolutely.
cheat code that bridges the gap. So I give men the cheat code to help them be able to learn and lead and love well, and women the voice that oftentimes they feel go unheard. So I bridge that gap, and I look forward to connecting to you. Definitely, my DMs are always open. You can click the link in my bio and book a consultation, a free consultation if your heart so desires and leads you. But until next time, this has been amazing. And thank y'all for rocking with the kids.
Yeah. We're gonna see y'all again. Peace, y'all.
Bye. Follow y'all. Make sure y'all follow us. Hurry up.
Go ahead and click for while we closing out.
That's it. That's it. All right. And we are ending out.